document E. We're going to start again with the C mean matter model, and we're going to start with the easiest one. What do you see? So again, you may need to pause the video in order to annotate, but what we are going to do is start with what we see in this document. So we see that there is a pond and an increased growth of algae that is shading out other plants, and that is directly from the diagram. We see that fish begin to die as oxygen levels fall. We see that increased nutrients are absorbed by algae. We see an increased decomposition of dead algae, using up the oxygen in the water. We also see over on this side of the diagram, it says that there's an excess use of chemical fertilizers, which lead to runoff and groundwater contamination. We also see that inorganic salts dissolved groundwater eventually entered the lakes, ponds, and rivers. What are some vocabulary terms that relate to this document? Well, we can see decomposition. We can see oxygen levels as a science vocabulary. We see increased growth. We can also see contamination. We can also see runoff and contamination. These terms might lead you to other terminology like, oxygen use. What produces oxygen? Photosynthesis produces oxygen. And what does photosynthesis need to produce oxygen? It needs carbon dioxide and water from organisms like the fish. We see contamination happening because of the chemical fertilizers. So pollution might also be another science terminology, a science vocabulary word. Eutrophication. Eutrophication is another science term that this picture might bring to your mind. Eutrophication is a pretty big word. It occurs in the environment when a certain ecosystem becomes so enriched with nutrients, like from those fertilizers, that it increases the amount of plant and algae growth. So you have an overgrowth of algae in waters. What does this mean? Well, algae here, it says that it's growing and it's blocking the sunlight from the other plants. So other plants and other organisms in the water need that sunlight in order to thrive and produce oxygen. Because they are not receiving this sunlight, this means that the fish are going to begin to die, and other organisms, animals in the pond are going to begin to die because they need oxygen, and this oxygen level has been reduced from the blocking of the sun. Increased decomposition, also uses up oxygen in the water, which again is causing the depletion of the fish population and other organisms. Why does this matter? Well, this matters because there's an imbalance of oxygen exchange between photosynthetic organisms and all other organisms. This means that there is a lack of oxygen. And if there is a lack of oxygen, then that is going to affect all of the organisms that require oxygen, like fish and other pond animals that share this ecosystem. There's an offset in the balance of photosynthesis and cellular respiration because of these factors in this particular ecosystem.